Okay, why don't we get started? So, okay. Welcome to the December 15th meeting of the Bristol Planning Commission. And it's 7:07 and we're going to start. Tonight's agenda is pretty brief, but it may involve a lot of discussion. Now I'm looking for it again, sorry. But the first thing on there, hold on a second. I gotta get it. Okay, so what I'd like to do is to add something to the agenda, a discussion of quarrying in the town, but specifically related to a situation of an existing quarry where the Planning Commission had previously made an arrangement, not an arrangement, but had acknowledged that there was an existing quarry in operation previous to the last plan. And we just need to discuss that and see how, if we want to make any change to the plan or the wording, but we're not going to do it this round because it's not that time sensitive. So that's a little too much information right now. That's the change to the agenda, sorry. So unless anyone has any problem with talking about that, because we're not going to make any, I think we're just going to have a discussion about it tonight.
Well, I guess I need clarification because I totally support what Peaker needs to do or wants to do, but is it an unwarned item if we discuss it underneath this agenda? Does it need to be?
I think I'm just going to explain it to people, really. We're not going to make any decisions. I'm basically just going to talk about what happened in the past, which it has already happened in a meeting. So I don't think it needs to be warned, personally. But let's get there. And if we decide otherwise, we won't talk about it. Okay. So the next item is the review and approve minutes of 10/6. And does everybody have, yeah, I sent those out. Yep. Does anybody have any questions or comments on that?
Make a motion to approve.
Second.
Tom seconds. All in favor?
Aye.
Or excuse me, any discussion? I just lost the screen, so for some reason.
Were you still going through the agenda or were we moving on?
We're done with the agenda.
Okay, I just wanted to make sure.
Yeah, we decided to talk about it, maybe. Any discussion on the minutes? All right, okay,
No.
hearing none. All in favor of approving the minutes? Okay. All in favor of approving minutes of 10/6, 2020, Bristol Planning Commission? Okay, so I guess now we can, all right, I'm trying to juggle too many things here. I guess we can get back to that agenda, old business. We'll talk about that situation. And Chris, I was trying to remember, were you zoning administrator then or not? Do you remember?
During when?
So I don't believe I was chair. I think Sue was chair. And it was several years ago. And Peaker came in and we had a discussion about his operation. So when the last plan was written and then approved, it was his operation was considered, although I guess by the town, to be a extraction. But it is actually quarrying, and that's what he was. And I think we need to get I can't, I'm trying to bring it all back. I don't remember exactly, but we need to actually get a copy of a letter that the Planning Commission wrote to Peaker. And I think that's what everybody needs to see before we really have a conversation about this. So, but the issue was that when the plan was written, but I wasn't involved in that plan, so I'm just recalling the conversation as a board member. His operation fell into, you know, he wasn't in the downtown district, or he wasn't in the core, the planning area, and apparently his business was considered extraction. But since then, through I guess it's considered quarrying, but it had been in operation for previous to that plan. So for him to continue that operation, he basically needs permission from the town saying, we understand that operation was, you know, going along, and it's just a document that says he's not going against the plan. And we gave him that at that time. The Planning Commission wrote a letter to support, saying that his operation isn't contrary to what the plan said at the time. Now, the new plan didn't change any language, specifically with quarrying. So that's the issue he brought up. Tom?
We had a lot of discussion about that at the select board meeting last night. And it seems to be, number one, you're correct. It was kind of the 11th hour to come up with something like this. But I think Peaker's angst is pretty much with the state approval. And frankly, I would be back in his court and say, find out from the state if it's going to be an issue, and then bring it back to us to say, okay, let's find out what we need to deal with it. I think it's premature. I think it's premature for us to just go through a whole bunch of machinations to change something for his benefit if it doesn't affect us at all. And I think it's a matter of him finding out, as I said, the state's going to have an issue with it. If they don't, then put something in writing and then get back to us and we can deal with it as necessary. But I don't think there's a whole bunch of issue that we need to get involved with now.
I mean, personally, the only issue I've got with it is, my recollection is we had this discussion, whether it was during the UPD where we had to modify that or whether it was in the town plan. We were aware that this was going on and it needed to be addressed, and it was not addressed. So whether it's post discussion or now, in some manner, the fact that quarrying, I think the discussion was that we needed to modify the definition of quarrying would have resolved some of the issue. But again, I'm going from recollection. I'd have to look back at the actual minutes of those meetings. So addressing it now is not a bad thing, in some manner, whether it's, or putting it on the burner that it's in the top, it's in your priority list, either way.
He gave us a timeline. It's not, you know, there's time to discuss this, and time if any changes need to be made to make them, but not this round. So I think we need to, I think it would be good to have him go to the state and present the situation, because nothing has really changed. We did not make a change to any language. He basically said he was just worried about it and he didn't want to let something come up. Go ahead.
Okay. No, I agree with that. And it would be having to change all this stuff right now is kind of a big effort on our part.
Yeah, I don't, yeah.
And it's going to have to change at some point. But if he does go to the state, we'll at least get some guidance on what we would need to do to make that change eventually.
Right.
So
We got 3 hands now. Who wants to go first? Jeff.
So do I understand correctly, this language is exactly the same as in the last plan or not? Is that what you said, Katie?
I gotta turn this up a little bit. It's in a different place. It got put into the back as an addendum, part of the quarrying discussion. But I believe it is the same,
Well, if
but
the
I
language,
would have to check.
yeah, if the language is the same and the letter sufficed last time, couldn't we just send him the same letter and not have to bother with changing the plan? At least for the
I
short
think
term?
that's something he could find out. That's something he could ask the state.
I think the issue,
I think we were pretty clear at the meeting, at the select board meeting, that we weren't going to do anything this time. We were going to move the plan forward as is and not make any changes for it to be voted on. But I said I would introduce the topic so people got brought up who weren't there.
yeah,
And go ahead,
because
Chris.
I think the issue that he's got is that the current pit they're in is not the one that they're worrying about licensing. They own a second pit that is currently licensed, that they do a similar product in, just not as active. The Hardscrabble pit is very active, but I think they need to re-permit the other pit, which has not been as active, and that's where they could get held up or prohibited from continuing operation there, and that's what I believe his concern is.
Yeah, well, he seemed like he was talking about the same pit, but I think we should just make a time to talk to him about it. I just think we should do what, and we're not going to change anything now, and then get the facts about it and actually see the last letter. Do you know where? You must have a copy of that somewhere. Who wrote that?
Can't hear you.
You're muted. You're muted.
Yeah, I know. I was switching. I was looking, trying to find the document. Yeah, I'm trying to find it right now. It would either been Sue or Chico wrote the letter. Those would have been.
I think it was Sue. Yeah.
So we may need to reach out to Sue and see if she's got a copy.
Or,
Speaker has one.
yeah, Peeker has one. Kevin?
So this is a permit renewal, Chris, and I think you're talking about the right thing. It's a permit renewal for 2022. And I don't believe it was 250, but it may have been, I think it's just, it's a state level permit where he needs to have a line that he's consistent, his operation is consistent with the town plan. So he can go and ask the state, but they're going to basically say you need to identify you're consistent with the plan. And if nothing's changed as far as the regulation from what the regulations have been substantially unchanged, if not unchanged, just update the date on the letter may be all that needs to be done.
I think the letter was very specific about the site too. If there's another site, I don't know, that would be different. That would be a different situation.
Well,
The impression
no,
is
it
current
would
site.
be for the same permits, would be talking to the
Right.
same
That's
site.
what I was under the impression.
That's
Rob,
what
you had something?
implied
So, yeah, I guess we need some more clarification, but even if we were to make a change to the plan as far as whether it's a definition or wording, it would be a substantive change, correct?
Yes.
So that would have to be voted on.
Yes.
So the potential timeline for that is November or the following March, if it doesn't go through this coming March.
I guess it can be, I guess it depends on, how we handle it time-wise.
Well-
if there's a vote, if there's a town-wide vote.
Is that an option to have it for November? Is there a vote next year?
I don't know.
So, but that's what I was just trying to
Yeah.
reinforce, is that there may not be another chance to have it changed if that's necessary in time before the permit is up.
He said 22.
Right, but next year's 21, so if there's no voting cycle between March and March,
He
then,
was getting it ready. He seemed to understand the timing.
right, there's a year, there's 1 year.
Yeah.
Does this include both sites, or are we just talking about one site right now with another in the background?
We don't know. We don't really know. I was under the impression it's one operation.
I would imagine he's permitted by site, not as a group.
And if it's not an active site, does that change anything? If there's no quarrying allowed and it hasn't been active, even though it was permitted? I mean,
I think this is, I mean, I don't know all the details of it. I know maybe you know more, but the way he presented it is this is like his ongoing business. But I think this is what we need to find out. I mean, we could speculate, but that's what we're doing right now, honestly, it seems.
So what is our next step? Do we have him come and present to us? Or does he go to the state? And after he goes to the state, does he come back to us and say, this is what the state said? How do you want to do this?
We can decide. Yes. So we ask him to go to the state, Tom?
That's what I proposed. It's exactly what Bill said. Have him go to the state. We're just groping around in the dark right now.
Right.
Let's see what he has to say. And he can give, and for verification, he can give us contact there and we can follow up with that. But let him do the legwork.
Agreed.
It's fine with me.
Okay.
Everybody else?
So I'm just trying to review the two plans. I'm trying to find where it is in the new one. I'm almost there.
It's
And
on
you
the,
want the
it's
last
on the last, it's on the map. It's like the last line before the map in the back.
like
After
second
the
last page or
plan.
second to last page.
It's the
Yeah.
last sentence in the plan. Literally.
Got it in there.
It's on page 169.
Are you okay with that, Kevin? I didn't see you nod or,
Yeah, I'm fine. I'm
Okay.
fine with that.
okay.
On page 169, Chris.
Okay, so Bill, did you get that written down so we can remember?
So page 169 is what? Of the plan?
Yeah,
The plan,
And that is the quarrying definition?
not a definition, it's a statement about quarrying.
What are we referring to?
Prohibition.
What are we referring to on page 169?
it's the statement that says no quarrying is allowed in any district of the town, in any zoning district of the town.
Okay, I'll look that up.
But that was in the last plan as well. Or at least,
And I believe that we left all of that exactly the same and just kind of left a short part in the main body and then removed the rest of it to an appendix of everything based on extraction and quarrying. And it was untouched, unchanged apart from structure.
Right. The verbiage is slightly different. In the old plan, number 17 under the land use states prohibit quarrying, parentheses, which includes mining, close parentheses, until it can be further studied. That was a policy under the old plan.
well, here's a project going forward. If anyone was worried we weren't going to have anything to do. On that note, are we good with this then? We will, do you want to contact Peaker, Chris, or should we do that? Do we need a letter?
Again, I guess what your next task then would be to have him come present to you.
No, we're going to have him go to the state to find out if she should do something different. That's what Tom proposed.
Okay. It probably, yeah, I mean, I can reach out. Yeah, it should come from the board, but I can reach out to him via the board. As long as you're fine with me
It's up to
paraphrasing
you.
that. As long as you're fine with me paraphrasing or reaching out and using, based on this information, I'm fine with reaching out to him.
That's fine. Just copy, send us what you sent.
Yeah, it'll be a letter of some sort sent to
Okay,
HVA.
great. Thank you. So the next thing on the agenda, next topic on the agenda is the issue of boards. And we talked a lot about, for those of you who were at the meeting last night, we got to talk about that a lot, which was good, I thought. If people on the planning commission are interested in moving over to the DRB, what that, what you need to do, and just to get, if you want to, get some idea of what they would be doing. And as a planning commission, not everybody, but several of you have been on the planning commission. Basically, we've been working on the plan and the whole time. And that's, there's other things to do, but we won't have applications anymore. We used to have applications to review. We won't have that anymore. So Chris sent out a bunch of information and for you to look at. But I guess I just would like to, field questions and give you my opinion, and Chris can give you his opinion. Tom?
Before we get into that discussion, I have a couple of questions here. We had a lot of talk about that last night, and may not understand this correctly, but maybe somebody can. We have a current town plan right now, which is in effect until its new one is voted on. Is that correct? Number one.
Our plan, the plan that we worked on, will not be in effect until it's voted on in March.
Very good. Number two, if that's the case, we're currently under the DBA program, which will be effective until the new DRB, right?
Right.
Okay. So that we're operating under that until the new one is theoretically approved on town meeting day.
That's actually not right. That's not correct.
Right. Enlighten me then, please.
Okay. So we've got the Unified Development Regs and we have our plan. Two separate documents.
Okay.
The Unified Development Regs was approved by the voters on election day.
Okay.
Narrowly, I may say, which surprised me. So, but not that narrow, it was like 100, but still, I was surprised there were so many against it. But then the plan is going through the process, but has not gone to the town to be voted on yet. It's completed the process of being reviewed by both boards, and in positive light is going to be on the ballot for town meeting day. Once it's voted on town meeting day, if it's approved, that will be our plan, but that doesn't affect the configuration of the boards. That is the Unified Development Regs.
All right. Hypothetically, if somebody were to come in with a PUD application now, who would judge that?
Well, that's the problem.
It's a mess.
What?
Said it's a mess right now.
Because we do not have a board to review that. Because
Okay.
right now we need a development review board, and we don't technically have a zoning board anymore.
We
And
do.
we need,
Well, we do, but do we?
They don't have a job. We got a board, but they don't have a job.
Okay. So yeah, it's very confusing, and that was a lot of the conversation. And it probably should have gotten started a while back, but it didn't, and whatever, it's happening now. So that was a lot of the back and forth about how to deal with this.
So until the DRB is established, the ZBA stays intact. Is what the town administrator had proposed, or had
Did you talk to her
explained.
today?
I've not spoke to her. I spoke to her Friday afternoon, unless that changed over the weekend. Where it gets really confusing is if there's a site plan review that needs to occur, that falls under the DRB, but in the future, but currently it falls under the Planning Commission. So in this weird nebulous time frame, that's the site. Who the heck listens here's site plans? And that's really where we're caught.
So the DRB is in effect. So there's no zoning board anymore. The DRB is going to do all that, but there is no
No one's been appointed to that board.
DRB.
Right.
So and why they didn't just change the name of the zoning board to DRB in the interim last night is beyond me, but they didn't do it. So
And I
Tom,
can't quite remember what they did decide to do, but I think there are several people on the zoning board that want to be on the DRB, and they're kind of like they don't really have to go through any application process other than just sort of a paper process. They don't have to. And also anyone on the planning commission who actually would like to be on the DRB, I just could be on the DRB. You don't have to, not that it's a big rigorous process anyways to get appointed by the select board, but they're not going to deny any of those candidates. But they need enough people in that, and they were talking about the dates when that could happen. And I think they're going to try. Initially, they talked about waiting until March, but then that would just put a lot of work in the pipeline because it would have to wait. But on the other hand, so I think the people that, if there could be enough people to get on get started, it could maybe work. And when I suggested about planning commission people or members also being on the DRB, it is possible for people to be on both boards. And maybe if you just wanted to do it temporarily. And I guess that would be an option. I would think that could be an option. I mean, because there's people we've reviewed plans, maybe that could be suggested.
So what is the official process to set up the DRB?
That is unknown to me.
So
But
the select board has to have a resolution to set up the DRB, and then they need to appoint the members. The select board is the one that has the action. We can make recommendations, obviously, but it is up to them to identify people, get people, and authorize them to be on the DRB.
I think anybody can advertise it. Anybody can promote it. I don't really, and I think more of that needs to be done. I got the impression that, I can't quite remember exactly, but that they were going to move on that right away. That the resolution was going to be written up and set by the next meeting.
They have a meeting Monday, and we're going to continue then.
Yeah.
Although it did go back and forth quite a bit.
Yeah. I mean, I have no idea, Chris, what's in the hopper. Apparently there's a lot.
Yeah, I mean, I've got at least one hearing that's stuck now and with no resolution to any of this. That I need to contact the applicant tomorrow when I'm back in Bristol and let him know that his December hearing there's no possible way to pull it off. I was already having issues enough getting a quorum out of the current ZBA, but there's
Have they met again? Have they met since October?
No, they only meet as needed.
Oh, okay. So I thought you
So
were.
how
trying to
much
get
is
more.
as needed normally? How much would the DRB meet? How frequently? Would you guess?
More than they do now.
Yeah, I'm guessing the current rate of hearings and the new responsibilities, especially knowing that currently any subdivision that goes on is administratively reviewed, now has to have a hearing no matter what it is.
Mhm.
So that adds to, I mean, we've had 5 or 6 subdivisions this year. So they're going to be meeting once a month at least, I bet, for hearings would be my guess.
So that brings up the question. So the planning commission does the town plan, is that correct? So
Well,
how
in a
often?
nutshell, I could say, you could think about it like this, the planning commission basically does planning. They do.
So how often would they meet?
Well, I think you're required to have a once a month, at least a once a month meeting. If you're working on stuff, I mean, I think there's regular meetings unless you cancel it. But it does, I mean, it seems like, but we won't be having applications like we did before, but things come up. I mean, we put, we made an implementation list.
That's what I was just going to say. I mean, you all built a huge implementation list that your name is on 3/4 of.
Right, so we got to do that.
There is not a lack of work in front of you. If anything, having hearings and having to deal with the updated zoning in the town plan sort of back to back like it was, the last round of implementation plan was never really addressed by the planning commission. This is an opportunity for you guys to actually grasp that, run with it, and resolve some of these issues that would be great.
So, and we talked about, we talked about doing some housing stuff. We talked about, there were other things in the plan that we said, we can't deal with everything right now because this initially was supposed to be this and this to get it up to code, up to speed. So now we can go back, and so it's a planning board. It's not, and then the DRB is a review board. So they will be reviewing applications based on the URD, the Unified Development Regs, UDR, whatever. I hate these things.
So going back,
Zoning was so much easier.
I
So,
don't know if it was Rob, but are they supposed to get this DRB situation cleared up this coming Monday or before Christmas, or we don't know?
no, we don't know.
I think, Katie, either you or Chris should get with Valerie and understand her strategy and just lay it out for them. And then don't wait for them to try to banter back and forth on the pros and cons of things, but lay it out as to.
Well, nothing was happening until
Exactly. So lay it out. She can have, and I got the sense she was going to have a resolution ready for them,
right.
but also have her proposal on how to align the boards at the same time.
Right.
So they'll talk about it, but at least they've got something to springboard off and maybe
Right.
even approve.
So Chris, how do we have a backlog? Does the DRB have a backlog right now that we have to address?
I have one hearing that I need to deal with. That's really all I've got at this point in time.
And is this period and the holidays and beginning of January, is that kind of a low period for us?
Normally it would be, but it hasn't slowed down one iota in my office here, and the other towns that I work with aren't seeing any slowing down yet at this point either.
Okay.
Hey, Chris, one thing with the ZBA, I know there's currently 7 on the listed. How many of those are truly active that we can
4.
expect to carry forward? Probably 4. So
Or
we
at best.
need to fill at least 1 to 2 seats to make sure the board would be able to function and make decisions.
I think only 2 or 3.
Or it's a board of 7, so 4 is a quorum.
Right. And at the meeting I went to, we waited, how long? Half hour for the quorum?
45 minutes.
Yeah.
Hmm.
Yeah. So,
Okay.
it was a long time. Anyways, I got the impression that, I'm guessing Kevin is staying. That was my feeling, that,
I have 2 members that currently from the board that have voiced their intentions of staying,
of wanting to stay.
of wanting to become DRB members.
Right. And then I think there is someone else from the community that is interested in being on the DRB.
And I think the other 2 that have been fairly active would move over. They just haven't, weren't ready to commit at that exact moment.
Okay. So that's 5.
Yeah, which is,
The DRB is 9 people, is it not?
I guess it's 7 official and 2 alternate, not official, but regular. So I'm not really sure
That's
how
the
that.
ZBA, that's the ZBA, I think.
So I think the DRB was also 7 with 2 alternates, the same
Right.
structure, I
Is that right?
believe.
All right. So the bigger question is, anyone really feel strongly? Tom's already told me that he would like to stay on the planning commission. Correct?
Correct.
Does anyone know for sure what they are interested in doing?
I've also indicated I want to remain on the planning commission.
Okay,
I'm mulling it over.
Okay.
But I'll know soon, decide soon.
I'm leaning to DRB.
okay. You better, have you
So
told anybody that yet?
Jeff, you could do both and you wouldn't have to make a decision.
Yeah. thanks a
Yeah,
lot.
that's true.
Well, I'm mulling it over. If I have enough mulled wine, I might do that.
I know, well, I mean, I honestly, I like both, but, or neither. It depends on the day.
Yeah. Well, that's very illuminating. Sorry.
It's okay. We probably all feel that way. So basically, the DRB is going to follow all the plans and regulations that the Planning Commission plans and passes. So, it's all connected. And now the DRB has a bigger responsibility because it's going to be potentially looking at bigger projects that are larger land areas and looking at, it's just bigger decisions, but it's local as opposed to having those bigger projects go and be decided on a state level. So it's a bigger responsibility.
I have been up in the air also, but I am interested in the DRB for various reasons, but still unsure of the commitment and that it can be more contentious than our normal planning commission meetings at times.
But you stick to the, that's the thing. It can be, but.
Yeah. So my question is, and I know since I've only been on the planning commission a short time, the whole time I've been here, we've been essentially 95% working on the town plan and the UDR. So I don't have a sense of what the planning commission's other functions would be. Or at least in a practical sense, I have a sense in a theoretical manner, but I don't have a practical sense. So.
I could give you a few examples. If someone comes in and wants permit, they'll go to Chris. And if it's permitted, if it's by right, then they go through a process with Chris. If it's something that needs to be reviewed as a site plan, which means we basically decided that it's something that just needs a little closer look basically it's a permittable use, but we want to see, does it need screening? How should the driveway go? Different things like that. That application used to come to the Planning Commission. That will go to the DRB. That's kind of a simple, site plan's pretty simple that way.
So I know what's leaving, but I don't know what's going to be in its place. You were talking about
The Planning Commission.
Yes, for the Planning Commission. It'll
be things like looking at the quarrying issue, looking at housing, we talked about doing a housing survey or a housing plan, going back and maybe looking at some of the zoning regs that we were maybe wanting to revisit.
Another example, Jeff, when I lived in Heinsberg for a while, their planning commission did a huge public planning charrette that Alex, their town planner, sort of drove the bus, but the planning commission, and they really looked at the big picture of development in Heinsberg as a community. And those are the kind of things that the planning commission really should be taking on.
Yeah.
It's visionary. It's we're making sure that you've got the tools for our community to grow in a manner that not just the board but the community wants to see it grow in, and that would be because if you look at a lot of your tasks, there's a lot of community interaction, driven type goals that need to be. There should be some research. There should be some forums and outreach and that kind of stuff. And I could see the planning commission really taking that kind of role on.
Okay. So if I understand it, it's really not statutory things or regulatory issues, it'll be more what the planning commission
Planning.
wants to do.
It's planning, yeah.
Yeah, but
I
it's
mean,
things
really, since I have been on the board, we haven't been able to do that at
Yeah.
all. We
that
have
you
not
can
done that
decide
at
to do something and then do it.
What?
You can decide to do something and then do
Right.
it.
And that, I mean, basically, it's kind of what I help communities do in my other job, regional planning. For example, municipal planning grants are not just to update plans. A lot of towns will apply to do things like planning studies or master plans or different things that towns. Salisbury just got a municipal planning grant that I helped them write, and they're looking at where they could, what part of town could they do a little more denser growth because they don't really have a place to focus on their village center because of where the historic one is. There's no way to get any more septic, things like that. But then they're in conflict with a bat habitat. So that's the plan. The grant is to look at those things. And that's like a problem to solve, but there's, there's a lot of things like that. And especially, there's a whole bunch of stuff coming down the pipeline in terms of grants, especially because of COVID. There's although I was talking to Valerie today about that, and she said they're pretty maxed out in terms of grants and what they have to, because you usually have to match it. They've gotten a lot of grants, but you have to have the matched, the money to match it with too. But that's just for this year. It'll all turn over again. and there's a lot of opportunities.
All right, that gives me a much better sense.
That was a good explanation, Chris.
Thank you.
Tom,
You're muted.
you're muted.
Back.
Oh.
We're going back to something we talked about earlier. Apparently there's an existing applicant that's kind of just hanging loose there. I've got some sympathy for that. What's going to be done with him or her?
It's him, and I've actually shot off an email to VLCT for some legal guidance on this one. Because it is a really gray area that nobody knows the right answer to, because the plan has been, the unified planning doc regulations have been approved, which creates all of these boards and defines what everyone's roles are. The problem is what needs to be reviewed. A board that isn't currently seated is responsible for that, and the board that used to do it is no longer responsible for it. So if all we had done is just change the title from ZBA to DRB, it would have been almost crystal clear. This one piece is where the crux is, because the planning commission no longer does it, and the board that's supposed to do it isn't there yet. So I got to contact the applicant tomorrow and sort of lay it out there that we're caught in this weird wonky spot that hopefully I can get some answers tomorrow.
Well,
I mean, they could do that at their next meeting, just make that change.
Right, they could temporarily, even if it's on a temporary, like that it's an interim board, that they're going to transfer the power from the ZBA to the DRB in an interim period until the first of the year, whatever they want to do. So, but the problem is, once they do that, we now have to warn that meeting. It's still going to be now January at the soonest before this person can have a hearing. So it is what it is. We're going to work something out for them.
I'm wondering, does it have to be warned for them to make that resolution? I mean, we've already accepted that.
The hearing needs to be warned. And in order to warn it, it has to say what board it's being heard by.
So.
That hearing. I thought you were talking about the select board decision.
No.
As a point of clarification, you're talking about the person that's applying for subdivision, Chris, right?
No, they're actually looking for a conditional use.
Or
actually, it's just a site plan review of a property to potentially open a small repair shop in their garage.
Okay, but it's still somebody that is looking for a permit. is what the issue is.
Yes.
Because it's conditional.
It's
Which
site
would have
plan, but
gone to
yes.
the zoning and it would have gone to the zoning board anyways.
No, it's actually, it's a site plan review. The
Oh,
zone
site
it's in,
plan. Okay.
so it would have gone to the planning commission,
Oh.
which it no longer does. And that's where, yeah, this is where we're caught. There's nobody to actually officially hear this hearing.
Hmm.
Yeah, sort of weird gray area, but we'll work it out.
Okay. Well, so I guess what I'm, for our meeting tonight, I really wanted to, everyone to feel free to ask questions about the roles and share what they might be interested in doing, then to try to figure out or try to understand what the timeline might be. It seems like something might happen next Monday with the select board, but we as a board really can't do anything about that.
So if the three of us mentioned that we are or might be interested in either moving boards or filling dual roles or however it may play out, who should we
Valerie.
inform? Valerie?
Valerie.
But if we're simply staying on the planning commission, we don't have to say anything except
No,
as a courtesy to let you know that we intend to stay. Is
no.
that correct?
Well, Dude,
Then we got to make sure we have enough members to have a quorum.
yeah, but it'd be good to know the intentions, though, Katie, wouldn't it?
Everybody here?
Yeah.
That's what I said.
Well, I would, but I mean, but it doesn't seem like Bill seems the most interested in going to the DR. You're pretty sure about that, DRB?
Yes.
Yeah. So we know his. And Tom wants to stay planning commission. I will stay here.
So I think I'll stay on the planning commission.
Oh,
We'll stay on the planning commission. I think I will. I will stay.
well, if you stay, I'll stay.
I may be speaking out of line, but I assume Bill Sayer would probably stay as well. Bill's been on the
I'm
planning.
feeling.
Hearings aren't why he's usually involved.
No. We're down a member anyways. It would be nice to, so we need to get a couple more members if Bill goes.
So do we shoot Valerie an email to say we're interested or whatever we want? Is that the process?
Yeah.
Okay.
And then you will, I don't, then I guess it will be up to the select board for the actual process of how you would be transitioned.
Yeah. Okay.
And so Rob, I'm not going to make you decide right now, but if you could just send everybody email.
Yeah, I've just been really stuck with, what I want to do, because I'm interested in the DRB, but
Right.
time commitment and, I was on this board. I didn't want to leave this board short of
Mhm.
being able to function if that was a possibility. So I kind of leaning towards maybe if there is a spot to be an alternate, filling a dual role as an alternate when needed and willing to step in at that, if that's the case. But,
Yeah, that's a good.
working full time from home and having a 3-year-old, there's not a lot of free time to do stuff.
Yeah, I
You
get it.
always end up working from home. So.
Right. I don't know what's worse. 3-year-old, 22-year-old.
Timeout still works for the
3-year-old,
3-year-old.
24-year-old.
I got a 20-year-old that just showed up on Monday. She's home for 8 weeks, so I can feel your pain.
Yeah, timeout still works for me.
There's
though,
all sorts
so.
of distractions. Okay, so I don't know. I mean, Kevin, are you good with that? I mean, I'm not just, I think that I'm okay with people swapping out. I mean, if that's what they really want to do.
Oh, people need to do what they need to do.
Right.
I mean, the only thing that worries me right now is the select board not having a crisp plan by the end of their meeting Monday, you know?
I think they'll get there. I think they had not thought about it. For some reason, I don't know, Chris, what's your feeling? I just think it just hadn't gotten brought up. And it wasn't even,
Yeah,
so it's
it
moving
wasn't a.
now. That's what we got, you know?
Yeah, I mean, it was one of the things where it was sort of kind of out of sight, out of mind, and
We also didn't have, I didn't have a meeting in November. We might have talked about it then. That might have been part of the problem, but I thought we all needed a little break.
yeah.
Yep.
And again, even if you had, I don't think you would have pushed the select board that much faster with it, to be honest with you, because it just sort of seemed like, because Valerie and I talked about it a couple weeks ago. That's why I sent out the original email. It was like, oh dear God, we've got to figure this out. We got to find and so that has sort of started this ball rolling really rapidly, which unfortunately it should have been a month ago or 2 months ago.
I guess I was sort of waiting to hear from the town. I was sort of waiting, and then maybe they were as well. So anyways, I think we'll be fine. So what I said last night is that I would like the town to do a little more outreach in terms of trying to advertise the positions. We could actually advertise them on the website. I saw that Starksboro was doing that. Just having, I mean, it's like a job opening in a sense. Oftentimes it gets lost in the agendas and lost in, people don't read it all, so I think wherever we can kind of, or people can talk it up amongst your friends and neighbors, but it would, anyway.
Post it on Front Porch Forum.
That's good, but that's, not everybody reads that.
I know,
I
but
mean,
but
If
it's
you miss
casting
one.
the net, just casting a net a little wider.
No, that's definitely, that it should definitely go there. I think you guys were working on.
It's already been posted twice.
Oh, that's true.
In the last 2 days.
Wasn't it part of the agenda? Was separate?
No,
See, I missed it.
no.
I missed it.
See,
that's-
Valerie posted twice in the last 2 days. The ZBA, I mean the DRB and the Planning Commission. Once it was both, and I think the second one was just for the DRB.
Okay. Well, people have heard about it, so it's been posted. But I think we need to look at other venues to get it in the paper somehow. We got to think of some other ways to do it.
Yeah, and her posts were fairly formal. I mean, I know that sounds silly, but there's a way to make it less administrative-y feeling. As far the post that she wrote is very much what it needs to be, which is, from a town standpoint, here is the formal request for more people.
Yeah.
I think somebody who's got some writing skill and some wit could create a great lawn ad, like, hey, have you ever wondered why there's a house on this block and why there isn't some over here? Do you want to be involved? I mean, somebody with some fun banter, I think, could create not just the Front Porch Forum, but also, I mean, we've got the town's got a Facebook page. There's other media. We can get it out there and sharing it and moving it around. So I think I agree with you. I think you guys could really promote the hell out of yourselves. It's a great group to be on. It's a great group to work with. And I think it would be I don't think you'll have a hard time finding members.
Go for it, Jeff.
I would agree. The posting, on Front Porch Forum is very bureaucratic, and not only doesn't attract people, but might turn people
Hear
off.
them. Yeah.
But I presume that, the Planning Commission could make its own notice. It wouldn't be an official request, but something like Chris is saying, to say, well, we're the Planning Commission and we're looking for members, and here's what we do. And if you're interested, You should contact Valerie for the official description of the position or something like
If
that.
anybody would like to put something together and throw it out there for comments, as long as they're
I'm willing
not
to take a
for
shot
file.
at something.
What?
I'm willing to take a shot at something.
That'd be great. If you want to break something up and you can send it
I'll-
to everybody and
I'll circulate it informally and people can see what they think.
And I'll talk to Valerie on Friday, because she'll be in the office on Friday, and we'll discuss pushing the job postings, for lack of better terms, that she created up on the website like Katie recommended. And then in your communications, Jeff, we could actually refer them to the website.
Yeah.
And then they can see all the magic and how they have to get there and how to communicate with the town. And but I think you're onto something, Jeff. I think you could do something very creative. That's, hey, come hang out with us. Let's make a plan.
Yeah. Are you
let's
bored?
talk about quarrying.
Do you want to know the difference between quarrying and extraction?
Nobody wants to talk about that.
Or
Are you-
housing density bonuses.
Hey, I like that. Anyways, that's why I'm staying on the planning commission. It's all about housing.
It's humorous, but it's also if you do care about your town, do you care about your community? Do you want to have an impact on the way it looks,
Yeah,
the way it develops?
instead of just complaining about it.
Yeah,
after it
and
happens.
I think that would attract people if it was put that way.
Mhm.
I'm thinking out loud now, so,
I think you're heading down the right road, Jeff.
okay, I'll try and get something soon. I won't make a promise of this week, but soon,
Perfect.
after I
Okay.
finish grading all my papers.
But now the thing is, after this, I'm gonna have to like try to figure out what we do at each meeting, so.
Yeah.
I think we need to have the revolving chair. Oh, I think my term is actually winding down very quickly.
Mine is
Tell me
too.
I have another year or I'll shoot you. I didn't say that.
So one of the things that I maybe in the short term that and this is just I spitballing out there is coming up with sort of that 30, 60, 120 day vision of here are the things that if everyone sat down and said, here are like the 3 things that I would love to focus on, then you come together as a group and sort of form your long-term vision and plan as a group of which of these things do you tackle, which are prioritized, and that way you have sort of some focus and some direction as a board, and I think you guys would feel on task.
No, I mean, if it's organized, it'll be fine, you know?
Yeah, because I think just dumping it on the shoulders of the chair every month to come up with an agenda and a topic is, I won't say unfair, but y'all are a board. You can work together. You can come up with a vision and a goal and a direction.
Right. Well, I think we do. We need to, sort of our next meeting should be something like that. Let's look at what we have set aside or put it for implementation, even though the plan won't have been approved yet, but we might as well work towards, work with it in mind that it is going to be. Look at what we said. I mean, I keep bringing housing up, but housing really is an issue. And then that, there's just a lot of stuff going on with housing. And so I think that I personally would like to look at that and see how we can maybe, what should we do in that arena? And then how would that affect maybe some tweaks to the zoning? So, all right, I'm ready. I haven't had dinner yet.
Is it
Oh.
possible to get a final copy of the UDR
Did
sent
you get
out?
that yet, Chris?
No, I did not. I just actually asked for that, Rob.
Oh, okay.
So you guys should have that. You should, because Valerie, that was the copy that got sent to everybody. You just don't know where it is?
Who, me?
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, I've got, so I need to print copies, and this is why I need, so the copy I have has draft all over it. It has there's no dates on the adopted front page. So
Yeah.
I just need that. Once that's done, as soon as I have a printable copy, I have the verbiage. I've since November 3rd or 5th or whenever the hell it was, Those are my zoning regs I have to follow.
Right.
So I just wanted like the draft taken off from it. Valerie asked me if we had a version I could fire off and have a half a dozen copies printed up to have in the office.
So you have a PDF then, you don't have a Word copy.
Correct. I believe I only have a PDF of it. And to top it off, my work laptop blew up 3 weeks ago, and I'm still in recovery mode. So it's been fun.
So, okay, because I wasn't 100% sure. I mean, I have one that says final copy, but once it was sort of in your hands, I know that some things might have gotten changed, like that we agreed on. That because it was once Adam kind of gave it to the town, it's like your plan now, but you were making the changes.
Right. We didn't make it. We didn't make any.
I just want to make sure I don't give you something that where something got changed.
No, it's the version that says final draft and it's like, I want to say it's like an August date on it, Katie. I'll tomorrow when I'm in the
Well,
when I'm in work.
Yeah, I'll send you my latest, and
Yeah,
but I would
let
just
me
like you to check to make sure it jives with what you have.
That would be perfect. And then we'll take that, Rob. Once we have that, once we coordinate and we get a final copy, I will get a copy out to everybody.
Okay.
I'll send out an electronic copy, and in that, I will ask anyone who wants a paper copy to let me know, and I will have paper copies generated.
I mean, what's on the town website still says draft on it.
Oh, okay. And so you have the dates, so then you can put the dates in yourself.
I believe so.
I'm not going to do anything to it. I'm going to just send you what I have.
That'll be perfect.
Okay.
We'll work. Let me do that, and we'll go from there.
Okay. All right. UDR, I guess that's what it's called. Someday I'll get that. Okay. Other than that, anyone want to make a motion?
Motion we dismiss.
Second?
Second.
All right, Kevin seconded. All in favor? Okay, great.
Just one question, Katie. When would be our next meeting? The third, what? Wednesday? When do we do it?
Wednesday?
Monday? Hell, I don't know. Tell me.
You're out of here. Why don't you go in the DRB? I'm just kidding.
No, you're not. I take it personally.
Oh, don't. Tuesday. Third Tuesday of January.
Got it.
That sounds like a long time away, but it's not.
Happy holidays.
Yeah, you too, Bill. Take care.
Well,
Yeah.
see you.
Oh, I didn't say it. Okay, meeting is adjourned.
See you in January.
Yep.